an empty room.
Yeah.
It's like throwing a party and no one comes.
I know. For a party, I can get cheer. I hope JQ and Joe don't turn up at like 10:30.
I mean, maybe it's because they think that, like, maybe often things are at 10:30, not at 10.
I'm gonna message him.
I can't remember why we set it to 10. I feel like it was something to do with Judy.
Yeah, because I do remember it being a 10:30. But I don't think I told anyone. Oh yeah, they're back home.
Okay, I think we should maybe get started. Good morning, everyone. Is that on? Good morning, everyone. I think we'll get started shortly, so if you'd like to take your seats, and we'll start just in a couple minutes. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming today. I'm Bryony Lau. I am a Deputy Director in the Asia Division at Human Rights Watch. And today we're really pleased to be here to have a press conference to launch our new report, I'll Never Feel Secure, Undocumented and Exploited Myanmar Nationals in Thailand. So this is a very timely discussion. The situation, of course, in Myanmar remains dire more than 4 years after the coup, and Thailand is home to millions of Myanmar nationals who have been living here both before and after the coup. In recent weeks in particular, there's been a lot of attention to the impact of the cuts to foreign assistance on the long-term refugee camps along the border. But today our focus is primarily the situation of Myanmar nationals who have arrived in Thailand since the coup. I'll introduce our first panelist shortly, but just a quick note on logistics. We'll run the discussion till about 11:30 today. We'll initially hear from our three panelists, and then we will open the floor to questions. There's also tea and coffee and some snacks, and please help yourselves. So I'm really pleased to introduce our first speaker. Nadia Hardman is a researcher in our Refugee and Migrant Rights Division at Human Rights Watch. She works on these issues globally, but in particular, she has experience in Southeast Asia in both Thailand and Myanmar. She's also a lawyer and brings a lot of expertise and insight to this issue. So I'll hand the floor over to her for about 10 minutes, and she'll give us an overview of the main findings in the report.
Thanks. Can you hear me? Yeah. I have the privilege of going first and therefore running over time, so bear with me. Thank you so much for coming here today to the launch of this new report. The report is based on 30 interviews that we did in person with Myanmar nationals this year, people who have fled Myanmar since the coup in February 2021. We conducted these interviews mainly in Chiang Mai and Mae Sot, as I said, in February of this year. And just to give you the headline findings, we've found that the Thai authorities are threatening, extorting, detaining, and even deporting Myanmar nationals who have fled the abusive military junta to seek safety in Thailand. The only way most Myanmar nationals can get legal status is as a migrant worker, a category which is excluded from the protections provided under the national screening mechanism, and which is itself rife with delays and doesn't offer a legitimate pathway to legal status. So since the military coup in February 2021, the junta has carried out widespread abuses across the country, including war crimes and crimes against humanity. Many people have fled the violence, persecution, a collapsing economy, and aid blockages to go to neighboring countries. More than 4 million Myanmar nationals, and that's a conservative estimate, are currently in Thailand. About half of those are undocumented. Even if they have not sought asylum or been registered or officially recognized by Thai officials or the UN Refugee Agency as refugees, those who have fled serious threats because of persecution or conditions of conflict and who fear return on that basis are de facto refugees. Most of this undocumented population do not have pathways to protection, that is legal status or documentation in Thailand, and they're therefore vulnerable to harassment, arrest, detention, exploitation, and sometimes deportation by the Thai authorities. Despite this situation, that hundreds, possibly hundreds of thousands have fled and continue to flee and cross the border to seek safety and jobs in Thailand. While the migration flows are often mixed, and people are fleeing conditions in Myanmar, they are also coming here to find work. But this does not make them exclusively economic migrants, as the Thai authorities often assume. The underlying reality driving much of the migration is the need for protection. All those that we interviewed for this report said they could not and would not return to Myanmar. All cited reasons relating to the oppression and the conflict in Myanmar, from individual fears of persecution to a generalized fear of conflict. We don't use real names in this report, but I'm going to include some of the quotes from people. Cho Tu, not his real name, a 33-year-old man from Rakhine State, spent 2 years in detention in Myanmar's Irrawaddy region following his involvement in anti-junta protests in the years after the coup. He said, "When I was in prison in Myanmar, during the interrogation, the prison guards tortured me and hit me with a gun. I had high blood pressure because of this. and the left side of my body became paralyzed. I had a stroke as a result of the torture. When he was released, Chotu immediately fled to Thailand and is currently hiding in a safe house in Mae Sot without documentation. Several interviewees also told us they had fled Myanmar to escape military conscription, as well as others who had fled active bombing and widespread violence in certain areas. Zaw Win, not his real name, a 20-year-old man from Ayeyarwady region, fled being conscripted in Myanmar because the military was abusive. I left Myanmar in December 2024 because of the conscription law. In the past, the SAC would run a lottery system to pick conscripts, but now they drag people out of the house. I miss my family and I want to go back, but I don't want to be in the army. I don't want to kill civilians. I heard rumors there are a lot of casualties on the front line, and I don't want to be part of this. To be irregularly present in Thailand is an arrestable offense. The situation has given way to a landscape of corruption, exploitation, and extortion. Tens, possibly hundreds of thousands of Myanmar nationals continue to pay bribes to the Thai police to avoid arrest, detention, and possibly deportation. We found this practice to be most prevalent in the border town of Mae Sot, where people refer to Myanmar nationals as walking ATMs. Interviewees in Mae Sot described an atmosphere of extreme police surveillance and fear. King Muang, not his real name, a 30-year-old journalist from Yangon, fled to Mae Sot in July 2023. He said, "The main threat in Mae Sot is the police. I was scared of them and I was stopped 6 times. 3 times I paid the police money and they let me go. The first time, they asked for 3,000 baht. The second time it was 9,000. The third time it was 18,000 baht." King Mon eventually bought a migrant pink card and is now living in Chiang Mai where he feels safer. Interviewees in Mae Sot told Human Rights Watch that the main way to avoid arrest and detention is to purchase what they describe as a police card, a subscription usually costing between 250 and 300 baht a month. This subscription does not involve an actual card, but rather the number of a broker whose subscribers can call if they are arrested. The broker, if they pick up the phone, will then confirm with the police that the arrested person has paid the subscription and should be released. The police card does not correspond to any formalized process or official protection pathway, but exists in custom and practice. It is a form of corruption that is a lucrative means of raising money off the books for the brokers and police. Most of the interviewees who spent time in Mae Sot tried to get a police card so they could move around the city with less fear of arrest and detention. In some situations, only one member would be able to, of a family would be able to afford a police card, and the rest would entirely restrict their movements and stay at home in a self-imposed form of house arrest. In other cases, Myanmar nationals who could not afford police cards for the whole family moved to more remote areas because they believed the police were less likely to detain children trying to go to school. With no specific pathway for Myanmar nationals fleeing Myanmar, people use whatever available routes is available to them and that they can purchase, including education visas, the statelessness card, and most commonly, the migrant workers card, the so-called pink card, when a regularization amnesty is introduced. In September 2024, the Thai cabinet approved a regularization window, which was extended in February 2025. And most interviewees told us they were in the process of renewing their pink card or obtaining one for the first time. The process requires the sponsorship of an employer, but all interviewees used a broker to manage the process, and in all instances used a fake employer. That is, no one worked for the actual employer on the pink card paperwork. The official government fees to obtain a pink card is about 6,000 baht, but interviewees paid a range of fees up to 30,000 to brokers to obtain an extension or to start the process from scratch. Civil society organizations have also criticized this process for including the step of verification with the Myanmar authorities. the requirement to obtain a certificate of identity for those who do not have a valid Myanmar passport. Some groups, and we also, have recommended dispensing with the need to verify with the Myanmar authorities, a requirement which is dangerous for those who are wanted for resistance-related activities or evading conscription. While the pink card usefully ensures that migrant workers have a pathway to regularization and access to documentation, its use as the only protection mechanism available to Myanmar nationals is dangerous and exploitative. People are desperate to stay in Thailand and to live and work without fear of arrest or detention or deportation, and are forced to enter a system of exploitation as their only pathway to legal status and to access to services like healthcare and education. Deportations of Myanmar nationals from Thailand and pushbacks at the border have also regularly taken place since 2021. Thai authorities often conduct immigration raids and deport Myanmar nationals, particularly those without legal status or work permits. In August 2024, Thailand's Labour Ministry announced that it had detained and deported 144,000 Myanmar citizens in a 3-month period in a crackdown aimed at weeding out job seekers. Interviewees consistently expressed their fear of deportation. Ye Ni, not her real name, a 47-year-old woman, said she fled Yangon when the junta authorities arrested her boss in October 2022. She said she was working for an organization that provided rations to civil disobedience teachers, and she was worried she was at risk of arrest herself. She fled to Thailand with her 12-year-old niece, who she was looking after. In November 2023, Thai immigration authorities arrested her and her niece, and she was put in an immigration detention center in Mae Sot. She said, "On that day, 3 people in the immigration department came in their uniforms and with civilian clothes and arrested us. They said they were from Bangkok. They checked if I had proper documents and I didn't. They arrested both of us." Ye Ni was detained with her niece for 9 days in just the clothes she was wearing. She said that her niece was crying for 3 days straight. After 9 days, she was deported, both of them deported back to Myanmar. She was eventually able to make her way back to Mae Sot, where she lives in constant fear and under self-house arrest. The Thai authorities should take steps in line with international standards to provide effective protection for people fleeing Myanmar and stop the exploitation of millions of undocumented Myanmar nationals. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Nadia. It's now my pleasure to introduce another Human Rights Watch colleague. I'm pleased to introduce my colleague Sunai, who many of you may know is our Thailand senior researcher. Sunai, can you talk to us a little bit about the political context in Thailand that sort of determined how Myanmar nationals have been received?
Thank you, Bryony, and thanks, Nadia, for the reporting that is clearly depressing of the situation. I will say that the underlying assumption of Thai state, which have been going on for decades, about people fleeing from Myanmar, either fleeing from fighting, human rights violations, hardship. The underlying assumptions of Thai state are flawed, faulty. Thai authority assume that this situation, quote unquote, in Myanmar is temporary. One day it will go away. There is no need to establish lasting legal mechanism, protection mechanism for long-term stay of people who cross the border, seeking safety, seeking better life. There is no need for that. That's assumption number one. The situation is temporary. Secondly, in this kind of, assessment, Thai authority assume that the military regime, regardless of its name, because it keeps changing from one group of generals to another group of generals. But in the end, it is the military who will regain control. So the policy of Thai state is clearly or has been clearly in favor of military regime. There has been ongoing bilateral agreement between Thailand and the ruling regime of Myanmar to ensure that Thai territory will never be used as a platform for resistance operations. Thirdly, this is about this deep-rooted fear of, I would call it xenophobia, against people from Myanmar. Fear that if conditions are positive, if there are protection for them to keep them safe from being exploited, from being abused, either by government officials, by state officials, or by private companies, or criminal gangs, it will draw more of them to come to Thailand. It's a magnet. It's a pull factor. If you talk to Thai officials, they use this word all the time, pull factor. Like, I'm old enough to be around like in this area for 3-4 decades. And officials in the government, in the National Security Council, in the military, Interior Ministry, all refer to their conviction, their firm belief that if Thailand make it too positive, more of them will come. And now they are more nervous about that given the renewed armed conflict in Myanmar, fear that Nadia addressed about conscription, hardship, of course, the economic hardship. So that seemed to be even more compelling incentive on the side of Thai officials not to make it too friendly, not to stop abuses, not to stop exploitation. The next factor is Thailand is kind of, speaking from both sides of its mouth. On the one hand, Thailand is now a member of the UN Human Rights Council. Thailand gave pledges to the UN General Assembly, to the Human Rights Council in Geneva, to the Thai Parliament that it will be a human rights respecting government. Thailand has transformed from military installed government of Prayut Chan-o-cha to Pheu Thai party-led government. This will be a new government, a right respecting government, a government that respects international standards. But the practice speaks a total opposite. Thailand shows total disregard of very important fundamental international principles that prohibit returning people to a place where their life would be in danger. That continues to happen from the level that Nadia already mentioned about treating people crossing the border summarily as illegal migrants, regardless of their need for protection. Mind you, there is even no effective screening assessment mechanism to check if those people have legitimate claims for protection or not. The mechanism is not functioning. And Thailand restricts the number of safe areas where people from Myanmar can stay with this kind of, not perfect framework protection, only in 9 refugee camps along the border with Myanmar, not allowing new registration. But kind of back to my point, I said they believe this is only temporary situation. People will eventually disappear from the camps, being resettled, or go back to Myanmar, which is impossible. But new people, where they end up? They end up in areas that used to keep animals. They are allowed to stay when they flee the conflict, for as long as Thai officials could hear gunshots in Myanmar. That is the baseline. So what become of these people who are new arrivals? They become human ping pong balls. they fled across the border when they were fighting, when they feared for their life from bombing, from shelling, come to stay not too deep into Thai territory, only allowed in areas very close to the river. But once Thai officials couldn't hear gunshots anymore, they were told to go back. And Thai officials always told us, Human Rights Watch used the word pushback. They said, no, they went back voluntarily. It was not voluntary. They were told by heavily armed Thai security personnel that their time is up, they have to go back. And that's why I call them human ping pong ball. They being hit back and forth across the borderline without effective, lasting protection mechanism. And the next group that faced forced return to Myanmar is more worrying in terms of the safety. These are members and supporters of pro-democracy groups, members and supporters of resistance groups, including ethnic groups. They have become targets of what Human Rights Watch consider as swap mark transnational repression based on agreement between Thailand and Myanmar ruling regime that Thailand will not allow its territory to be used as platform for anti-regime operations. So these people have been targeted and continue to be targeted. Even some of them have been registered by the UN Refugee Agency as refugees, as asylum seekers. Thai authority overlook that fact and treat them as illegal migrants as the excuse for arrest and deportation in total disregard of safety concern under non-refoulement principle. And not only international principle that has been dismissed, but also Thailand's own law. Thailand has anti-torture law that strictly and clearly prohibit forced return of anyone to a place where their life would be in danger from torture and ill treatment. That continue to be violated when it comes to people crossing from Myanmar. We don't have the exact number, but it continues to happen. I have colleagues who ask me that do we have number? I cannot give the exact number, but I can tell you that it continues to happen in two tiers. The first tier is at the policy level from the top of government based on bilateral agreement between Thailand and Myanmar that if names are given to the Thai side, the Thai will go after them. The second tier, lower one, on the ground, operational level, is the fact that people crossing from Myanmar are treated as migrants. So since the research of fighting along the border and since the kind of expansion of conscription in Myanmar, Thai authority publicly acknowledged that they have arrested people who claim they have fled conscription from Myanmar, yet they were all forced to go back. In some cases, as Ranong province, they were sent back straight into the hands of military regime with no concerns about their safety at all. On the same level at the on the ground level, operational level, is direct contact between authorities on both sides, both of the military regime SSC and pro-government or government allied armed ethnic group, the BGF. They contact officials on the Thai side that Nadia said prone with corruption. They have rewards for wanted members and supporters of resistance group, of democracy groups. So they were targeted, arrested, and sent back across the border very quickly, very quietly, as illegal migrants, regardless of their political and security status. And what makes it worse now, I will come to my last point, is in the past, when we have concerns about transnational repression, we can contact diplomats, foreign governments to help intervening. stopping transnational repression. It worked in some cases. Not always, but at least we could save lives. But with the change of US government now, it come to Trump, that international intervention is completely gone. That's why the life of people fleeing Myanmar, crossing the border to seek protection and better life in Thailand, are in an even more precarious state. Thank you.
Thanks, Sunai. It's now my pleasure to introduce our last panelist. I'm really pleased that we have with us here today Ankana Nilapayjit, who many of you know is a member of the Thai Senate. She's also a former member of the UN Working Group on Enforced Disappearances, as well as a former Human Rights Commissioner. She recently was in Mesot, and she'll speak a bit from her perspective, especially following that recent trip.
Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to thank Human Rights Watch for this powerful and timely report. As the report highlights, the human rights situation in Myanmar has become increasingly alarming since the military coup in 2021 and has further deteriorated following the earthquake in March. In Myanmar, the ongoing conflict and violence have forced large number of people, including women and children, to flee to Thailand, while some had managed to reach areas like Chiang Mai and Mesot. Many others have been denied entry by Thai military forces. As a result, countless displaced persons, most of them are women and children, remain stranded along the border as internally displaced persons, effectively homeless. The IDP are living in extremely poor conditions, without adequate shelter, without clean water, no toilet, or mosquito net. With the arrival of the rainy seasons, the situation has worsened. The cases of malaria, dengue fever, or other illnesses are rising. Although civil society organizations and the Thai Red Cross are doing their best to deliver humanitarian assistance, strictly restrictions imposed by the military at the border have hindered communication and access to the affected populations. To this day, there is no clear data on the actual number of people from Myanmar who have crossed into Thailand. Among those most vulnerable are Rohingya people, who continue to face multiple layers of marginalization and exclusion. In early this year, 45 Rights sent a complaint to the senator that 6 Rohingya children ages 14 to 17 were arrested in Chiang Mai province. Following their arrest, the Chiang Mai police brought the children before the juvenile court and requested that they deported to Myanmar. However, due to pressure from NGO and senator, the police eventually transferred the children to the government shelter. When I first met the children in Chiang Mai in April, they shared that their families had paid large sums of money to smugglers who had promised to take them to Mesot and then to Malaysia, where they hoped to work, married, and bear a future. The 6 children asked me a very simple yet deeply moving question. They wanted to know if the UNHCR gives them refugee or person of concern cards, how will it help them to stay in Thailand or Malaysia? They emphasized that they had no desire to be resettled in European country or either far away from their homeland. Their hopes are modest. They simply want to live normal life in a safe place near their home, with the hope that one day they shall return to stay together with their families. When I told them it would be safer for them to stay in the shelter, they asked, "How long do we have to stay here?" And when can we start working to support our families in Rakhine State? Question I had no immediate answer for. The children also shared their intention to escape. They say they will leave as soon as they found some opportunity. They try to escape from the shelter and don't care whatever happened. Practically, just a few hours after I left the shelter, all six children has disappeared. To this day, there has been no investigation by the police, and their fate remains unknown. I fully agree with Human Rights Watch report that Masot has become a hub of crime, exploitation, and human trafficking, particularly affecting undocumented migrants. The case of the 6 Rohingya children clearly illustrates this. They are victims of trafficking, yet there has been no serious investigation, no protection provided to the victims, no access to remedies or rehabilitation, and impunity continue to prevail. Masot province is one of Thailand's economic zone, where migrants workers from the backbone of the local economy. If you visit the fresh market, it's like you stay in Myanmar. They speak Burmese language, dress or everything similar to Myanmar. As mentioned in the report, despite their essential contribution, undocumented migrants are routinely forced to pay unofficial monthly protection fee. I heard that all the undocumented migrants have to pay for 300 to 400 baht to avoid arrest and deportation to their countries of origin. Many asylum seekers and undocumented migrants live in constant fear, compelled to pay this informal fee to safeguard themselves and their families. This underscores both the absence of protection mechanism and the deep vulnerability they face on a daily basis. Thailand officially adopted the National Screening Mechanism, or NSM, in 2019 through the regulation of the Office of the Prime Minister on the screening of aliens who flee for reasons of necessity. The NSM intended to identify individuals eligible for protection on humanitarian grounds, including refugees and asylum seekers. Despite the fact that Thailand has not ratified the 1951 Refugee Convention, however, the NSM suffers from several significant limitations. In practice, it remains largely inaccessible and ineffective for undocumented migrants. Applicants must prove that their lives are at risk, often through a complex legal processes and scrutiny by a screening committee composed primarily of state officials. This raises serious concern about the impartiality of the process and the lack of protection-sensitive approach. Furthermore, even if a person successfully passes the screening process, they are required to post bail, often amounting around 50,000 baht, posing yet another barrier to access protection. Since 17 May 2019, the Thai cabinet agreed to adopt the Global Compact for Safe, Orderly and Regulation Migration, or GCM. However, since Thailand has not ratified the 1951 Convention, refugees still continue to classify them as illegal migrants and are subject to arrest and detention in immigration centers. And while Thailand has implemented a memorandum of understanding on alternative to child detention, which allow children with their mother, brother, or relatives to be released from IDC and they can live in the community. They are still legally prohibited from working. This restriction severely limits their ability to support themselves and contribute to worsening poverty within refugee communities. Moreover, because the MOU is non-legal binding and lack of enforcement, many children continue to detain in IDC. For instance, there are currently around 100 children being held at Suan Phu IDC in Bangkok right now. In terms of education, many displaced and refugee children encounter significant barriers to access the formal school system, primarily due to lack of household registration. While some public schools do accept refugee children, most are unable to issue official school certificate. Parents often point to language barrier, especially the requirement for fluency in reading and writing Thai. As a major hurdle to enrollment, the challenges are even greater for women and children who are victims of domestic violence and sexual assault. As undocumented migrants, they often fear to report this crime to the police due to the risk of arrest and deportation to Myanmar. This climate of fear fosters a culture of impunity within the communities. Method is just one example of cross-border human rights violation. While Thailand takes pride in being a regional champion of human rights, the reality for undocumented migrants remains one of silence, fear, and victim blaming. As one of us could one day can become a refugee or asylum seeker or a migrant, treating every individual with equality, empathy, and dignity is the most genuine way to uphold our commitment to human rights, especially Thailand now is a member of Human Rights Council. I thank you.
Thank you so much. I'd like to just give the floor back to Nadia for a moment. Can you provide us some thoughts regarding what Thailand should be considering introducing based off international law and best practice from elsewhere?
Thanks. Thanks, Bryony, and thanks to my fellow speakers. So we have spent a lot of time setting out the problem, and there are solutions. There is a list of recommendations that you can look at in the report. There's like a menu to the Thai government. But just to remind everyone, Thailand has a fragmented approach to refugee and asylum status. I mean, there is no official word used here in the law that amounts to refugee. What I understand that Thai's used is displaced people or people fleeing fighting. There is no formal refugee law. Thailand has not ratified the Refugee Convention or the Optional Protocol. And instead, the only people that are really recognized as having a kind of refugee space are those that find themselves in the long-term refugee camps along the Thai-Myanmar border, in these 9 camps where people are now not allowed to leave and seek work elsewhere. So they're dependent on humanitarian aid, which we know is ending very shortly. We know that Thailand has brought in this national screening mechanism. As Ankana just set out, it is not fit for purpose. It is a policy essentially to, yes, allow people to apply and achieve a status which would prevent the Thai authorities from returning that person to their country of origin if they have a fear of return. However, the Thai immigration law applies at the same time, meaning that if a person presents themselves under the national screening mechanism, they are also liable at the same time to be arrested and put in an immigration detention center in the interim period, which is a very dangerous prospect, obviously, for many people. But most critically, it carves out migrant workers from Myanmar, Laos, and Cambodia. They're not allowed to apply under the national screening mechanism. So we make a recommendation in the report. Of course, first of all, Thailand should ratify the Refugee Convention. That's the most important recommendation we will continue and always do make to the Thai authorities. But in the interim, it should introduce what is known as a temporary protection mechanism. This exists in law and policy. Internationally, many countries have introduced such a regime to respond to situations of large influxes of people. So, for example, Europe introduced temporary protection status for Ukrainian refugees. Turkey did it for Syrian refugees. Neighboring countries to Venezuela did it for people fleeing Venezuela for the situation of generalized violence there. And they could achieve temporary protection in places like Colombia and Peru. It is used in a number of different contexts and regions, and of course we won't spell out how Thailand should introduce that law here, but it can do this, and this has been recommended actually by parliamentary committees here. It's a very long name, which I'm going to get right. The House of Representatives Commission on National Security, Thai Border Affairs, National Strategy, and Country Reform has actually made a similar recommendation to register Myanmar nationals that find themselves here and give them legal residency and the right to work and access services. This is not a new recommendation, but it is one that would alleviate the vulnerability of hundreds of thousands of millions of people who find themselves here. They are here, and many of them do work, are trying to work, but the only protection pathway is this migrant workers card, which is at the moment a trap of bribery and corruption, where money is funneled to who knows where, but certainly to brokers, and it's a systemic way it's a systemic corruption mechanism. I'm happy to answer more questions on it, but it goes into some detail in the report what we mean by temporary protection.
Thanks so much. And I mean, obviously, that's one thing I meant to mention at the outset, that just given the atmosphere of fear that so many Myanmar nationals in Thailand live under, that's why we're not able to reflect someone's perspective from Myanmar on this panel, unfortunately. But I think the report really showcases their voices and their fears and their aspirations for how they would actually like to be able to live more securely in Thailand. So at this point, I'll open the floor to questions. There's a microphone at the back. Please introduce yourself and provide any affiliation if you have any. And we'll take questions for up to 45 minutes. So.
Hi, my name is Jim Pollard. I'm a former Nation journalist, FCC board member. I just wanted to put a question to Sunai, if we can. Thailand is in Thai government, the current government, Pheu Thai government, is in a real mess. As most people know, this sort of crisis is. I'm just keen to get your assessment, Sunai, if I may, as a veteran here, whether you think they have the capacity to actually face this. I mean, obviously we've had waves of refugees who've come to the border since 1984. There's a two-faceted problem there. Those people in the camps, because of US aid cuts, they're going to run out of money, I believe, at the end of this month. So, one, I'm interested to know how you think that may play out, because I know there have been debates here at the club, there was one in March. There's no more money for the refugees. I have spoken recently to the former boss of the border consortium, Jack Dunford, and he was saying that he thinks those people will end up in a sort of a grey zone economy, and that they may be quietly allowed to go out of the camps, do a little bit of work and remain there. But given the shambles that the government is currently in, and it looks as though it's intensifying, do you think there's any capacity to respond in the way? I mean, there's been some smart suggestions here, I think, from Nadia in terms of how to deal with this crisis, that they should actually face it head on and say, we will make an exception. The war in Burma is at its worst since World War II. Are they going to do it? Personally, I you know, given the strong stance of the military and the elite running the country, and it looks like they're shaking the current government down, how do you think it's going to play out? To me, it doesn't look positive.
Okay. Thanks, Jim. There is neither capacity or willingness on the side of Thai government, that is Pheu Thai party-led government, and the authorities directly responsible for camps affairs is Ministry of Interior, which has been taken from Bum Chai Thai party into the hands of Pheu Thai party. So make it even more logically, compelling for Pheu Thai party to draft up strategy to deal with this imminent crisis. We share assessment that, the same assessment that you just mentioned, that money for camps will run out very soon. But there is no political will from Interior Ministry as government agency, or Pheu Thai party as the core of this coalition government to resolve the crisis. Budget has not been allocated. And you are right to say that, the government is struggling for its life, and given the threat of, tariff war with the US, they are more worried about losing incomes, to the point that they feel that it is impossible to allocate this kind of essential amount of money in the pockets for something else that is less important. And as I mentioned before, it will create more troubles by drawing more people across the border into Thailand. So that's the logic. Not that Thai officials are not aware of the threat, of the danger, but there is no willingness, there's no instruction from the top level. And the person in charge, I just have to say it, it is the Prime Minister who is the Prime Minister, who also chairs the National Security Council. But there has been no policy coming from her. And now she has been suspended. The acting is Deputy Prime Minister Bum Tham, who is also Interior Minister. There is no instruction from him either. So there's a void that I can say. So in terms of camp affairs, we are dealing with life-threatening situation. There's something a bit more positive on the side of healthcare, public health. There is awareness from Ministry of Public Health that work in tandem with the Thai Red Cross, trying to fill in the gap that is missing as a result of the withdrawal of the USA for field hospital in the camp. They are doing that, but from what I learned from them, their measures are not going to last too long. Max a year and a half, and then they will run out of money either. But it is important for Thai public health to step in, to try. It's from a very selfish viewpoint in a way, both humanitarian and selfish viewpoint. Humanitarian is obvious, and selfish viewpoint is about control disease, transmittable disease that may come across the border. So they think that if they leave a vacuum going on, it's dangerous for Thailand, it's dangerous for Thai people. So they have to allocate money for that. So it is kind of different mindset when it comes to the overall camp affairs and specific healthcare situation. But both are not kind of a satisfying answer to the threatening situation right now.
Great. Do we have any other questions from the floor?
Hi, my name is Patrick Pongston. I'm the senior advocate at Fortify Rights. I just want to start by thanking Human Rights Watch for focusing on this situation. I think it's a neglected situation globally, so I'm really glad that you're shining light on it. I want to ask quite a simple question, really. We've heard your recommendations towards the Thai government, but in this situation where we have these refugees in Mersat who are unprotected, and we have the NSM where UNHCR sits on the subcommittee, I think, going through the applications and things. Why is the UN so toothless in this situation?
Happy to take that. I mean, I think that's a question for the UN. I mean, my understanding here is that, you know, the UN Refugee Agency has a limited mandate. Its memorandum of understanding with the Thai government is limited, again, I'm guessing, to what it can do for people in the camps. The services are limited to that space. It doesn't have a mandate, as it does in other countries, to count, register, and recognize, do their official refugee status determination and give people either a person of concern card or actual refugee status. So unfortunately, we don't have numbers from the UN Refugee Agency. In fact, the numbers that are listed are quite, I think, misleading of the number of refugees in the country. And the International Organization for Migration, I think, has done a good job of estimating conservatively how many Myanmar nationals are in the country. And it's also noted how many have crossed in a given year, which I think is really powerful. So between January 2024 and December 2024, the IOM said that 1.3 million Myanmar nationals had crossed into Thailand, which, you know, demonstrates that it's not the tens of thousands that I think is listed on the Refugee Agency website. So I think, you know, this is again my opinion, the reason why it might be quote unquote toothless is, you know, it also wants to maintain its space here. And I suspect that if it exceeds its mandate, you know, that status might be threatened. But yeah, maybe other colleagues can share.
I think that from my experience, I think UNHCR trying their best not to to have the refugees or the asylum seeker. But regarding to my experiences that I often visit the IDC, even though you have the refugee card or POC card, no, you can be detained in IDC. When I met the children in IDC, I think 4 or 5 years ago, when I'm Human Rights Commissioner, the children who are very, very small, still breastfeeding, they have the POC card, but people ask what for. Even though they have the card, they can easily be arrested. So I think that I think that the most important is what Sunai already said, that about the political will. I think this is a very important point. And I can say that among my colleagues, Thai people, they are really conservative and have very negative thought with the migrants worker. They often think that the migrants, they are like came to Thailand and use our resources and give nothing to us, and sometimes they circulate some illness that can prevention from vaccine or whatever. I think that this mindset is difficult to change. But for me, I think the most important is how the government can educate our Thai citizens, our Thai fellows, because you know that for Thailand, some occupation Thai people not want to work. for example, in the fishery or in the fresh market, for the hardworking Thai people not want to work on that, but we have to ask for the Myanmar workers mostly, including the domestic workers. Most are Myanmar, but I think the challenging is that sometimes the employer not register them in the house registration. If they have no house registration, the children cannot go to school, or the people, the migrants cannot go to hospital, or they are like a stateless and even worse for migration. I visit a lot of like a center for education of Myanmar people. They have like a small room teaching the mother tongue language, but they often arrested by some people who report to the police that the school is not comply with Thai education standard. So I think it still be very challenging for Thailand. But one thing I think that Thailand must have to work more is for the amendment of Immigration Act, so that we should have like the committee so that to consider that we can allow some people who migrate to Thailand for work or for to escape from some that their life is not safe, so that they can stay longer in the country. If not, they can be easily abused.
I just wanted to add one last thing on the UN and other agencies. You know, we all know these agencies have been decimated also by the USA cuts, the US State Department cuts as well. So to the extent to which also the UN is able at the moment, when it's reeling with its own internal chaos, because as a result of the US government's action, should also be considered in the midst of all this. Yeah, that's it.
Great. Well, everyone, yeah.
My name is Kalinga Seniratna. I'm from ID in Indep News and also research fellow at Chinwak University. Maybe I'll put the question to the Senator. You were just talking about that issue, and also Nadia mentioned some time ago about the new law which has been passed here. Because Thailand is facing a problem with low birth rates and shortage of workers in the country, and it's going to be a long-term problem, probably a permanent problem. Now, countries like Australia and European countries are also facing this problem, and there are similar immigration issues where brokers and human traffickers get into it. Now, what is the chance of the Senate? You're a senator, I understand. What's the chance of the senator the Senate, the Parliament, changing this narrative? So is the media about people, because Thailand will have to attract people from not only Myanmar, from Laos, Cambodia, to come and work in those fields where the Thais, not only they don't want to work, but they don't have people to work in this. So you need to get the brokers out of this and the human traffickers out of it. And also another thing where the narrative needs to be changed is who is funding these rebel groups who are creating conflict in the region, because it's a geopolitical issue. So it's a complex issue, and can the Parliament in Thailand address this issue as an economic issue rather than a human rights issue, because human rights has been discredited now, the whole question of human rights because of double standards for geopolitics. So can we look at it as an economic issue and immigration issue rather than a refugee issue?
Interesting. I want to say that even the member of parliament or the senator, many of them still very conservative, and you know that when they talk about the migrants, they use the word alien. They not love to use the word migrants. So it means that if you are alien, you are under protection. You are not us. No. I think one thing that the parliamentarian can do is to amend the law. If we have the law, if the Immigration Act has been amended, especially in Article 17, no, so that we can allow some people to stay in Thailand. I think that's one thing I want to say. Another role of the parliamentarian is to investigate the cases of human rights violation. I just finished my report on the Uyghurs that sent back to China, and I hope that the report will release that and sent to all the government officials shortly. But it's like that. It's the recommendation, but the government can ignore. When should I talk about the government party? I think that one challenging is they try to to favor by their voters, so they keep about the problem of the migrants, the refugee or asylum seeker. They try to hidden it and not want to talk about that because especially during this challenging situation of the economics. So many Thai people they are against the migrants worker. So, but I think that we have to work together, and we can use like the UPR, the concluding observation. CEDAW committee has released the report shortly in 7th of July this month. So I think that we can use this concluding observation and the recommendation of the UPR Thailand to strengthen Thai government to guarantee that everybody must be safe, and they should not allow for corruption, trafficking, or anything that do harmful to all the people, not only asylum seeker or refugee, but as we are all human. So everyone, every people who stay in Thailand must be protected our sovereignty. I think it's very challenging, and as Thailand now have a seat in Human Rights Council, so it has to show the leadership.
I would like to give kind of perspective from the other side of the coin. Political turmoil in Thailand and it's kind of the likeliness that this government will soon fall, and there will be a fresh election. Sadly, political parties from all sides are gearing up for nationalist platform. I'm not talking only about, conservative party like Pheu Thai or Boom Chai Thai. Sadly, even the Reformist People's Party, the Orange Party, is now pushing for the cleansing of method from migrants who have stolen jobs from Thai people. They have been pushing for arrest and deportation of migrants. And as we discussed before, that the arrest and deportation have been carried out without proper screening, without any human rights safeguards. So we are seeing political parties from both sides are contributing for the worsening of suffering of people who cross the border from Myanmar into Thailand as a result of political turmoil, as a result of the preparation for the upcoming elections. So I fear very much that as we are moving closer and closer to a new election, we will see more raids on the communities of people from Myanmar, not only in Mae Sot. Now it seems to be focusing on Mae Sot, in Samut Prakan, and some migrant worker neighborhoods in southern Thailand, including the raid on their education centers. But as we move nearer and nearer to election, this kind of raid may spread wider and target broader groups.
Great. Thank you so much, both. Are there any further questions from the floor? Otherwise, I might ask one. I mean, one thing I wanted to follow up on is given the huge scale of deportations that regularly happen to Myanmar, for both Ankana and Sunai, I'd be curious to know what you see as the obstacles to implementation of the 2023 Anti-Torture Act, which enshrined non-refoulement into Thai law. So given the risks people face when they return to Myanmar and given the numbers being deported, how can the Thai government ensure it's not violating its own law?
I think I think we have the conflict of law, no? When we talk about the non-refoulement regarding to torture and export disappearance act, the police immigration will talk about the immigration act, that they can deport people easily. So that I think that for the anti-torture act is the newest law and is the human rights law. So the law that older than this should amendment and follow the CAT Convention, the ICPPED Convention, and the Torture Act. But when we have very good act, but we have to follow the old legislation. So I think this is one of the conflict of law that nobody talk about that. And when I investigate the case of the Uyghurs, the National Security Council said that no, we're not breaking the Article 13 of non-refoulement because we use the Immigration Act, so we can deport the people. So it's very crazy why you ratify the CAT Convention, ICCPED Convention, but you not follow on the article of these conventions. I think it's very challenging.
I would like to add to what Kunakana just explained to you, is that deportation of those from Myanmar has happened without court oversight. That is the only chance to try to use the mechanism of the anti-torture law in Thailand on non-refoulement. Use the court to interpret that, and the lawyers who represent the deportees or potential deportees can argue that their life would be in danger. But because deportation of people in Myanmar happened without court review, it happened at ground level. People were rounded up and pushed across the border, and as I said, sometimes straight right into the hand of Myanmar authorities without court overview. But even in the case that we managed to get the court involved, the interpretation of the Thai court is still very conservative and referring to the older law that Ankana just mentioned about the immigration law or security concerns. Therefore, that bypass the restriction, non-refoulement restriction in the anti-torture law, even though the law said there must be no exemption under no circumstances. People can be sent back to danger. But Thai authority basically disregard its own law.
Okay. Are there any other questions in the room? Otherwise, I might just ask our speakers. Yeah, Sunai, go ahead.
Just got a point from the floor that why we are deeply concerned and very pessimistic about the cut of aids from the US. Another worrying trend is the gap has not been filled up by other potential donors. Those from the European Union, Australia, Switzerland, and Asian powers, they have not filled in the gap. So Thai authorities have solid argument that they cannot maintain support. When we talk about general capital affairs, they don't have money to do it because no one contributes to the support anymore. In terms of healthcare, they can do it over a short period of time, a year and a half. And after that, who knows what would happen because no one has raised their hand and filled the gap that has been left vacant as a result of the Trump administration policy.
Does anyone have any further questions? Yeah. Oh, sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
Hi, thank you. My name is Sui from Rapid Asia. We're from the private sector, also focusing on migrant issues as well. Just an observation from the key takeaways that you've presented. I was wondering, what do you think about the role of ASEAN in this issue? Because we're not talking only about Thailand, we're talking about the implications that Myanmar is facing, implications that other countries in these regions are facing. And because ASEAN is branded as an economic cooperation, obviously there's some economic issues linked to this migration and exploitation of workers. So I was wondering how ASEAN can play a role in this issue and then actually be a part of the solution.
Does anyone want to speak on that?
I think there's some mechanism that can help to solve this problem. For example, for the role of ASEAN, but many say that for ASEAN it's not human rights body, but I don't know. But I think that for the transnational repression or the transnational violation, ASEAN have to be together. But the obstacle is about ASEAN Charter. ASEAN Charter not allow for the interference, and it needs consensus. If ASEAN came together and Myanmar against, it will stop. This one thing. Another thing is that for the human rights body, we have the CNF, the Southeast Asian National Human Rights Institution. But unfortunately, the human rights institution in our region doesn't work, it's collapsed. It's have like a lot of cooperation, for example, for training, promotion, human rights or whatever, but not cooperation for investigation or to protect the ASEAN citizen. I think this is one thing that I'm concerned. And above the CNF, we have the Asia Pacific Forum, and we have the country, the Global Alliance on Human Rights Institutions. So I think that the country that OHCHR, the Secretariat, should focus on this and try to strengthen the regional body to have more intention to solve the problem in the region. And one last thing is that ASEAN is only the region that we have no regional mechanism, not as in European country that have the Human Rights Court, the African have the African Commission, but ASEAN have nothing, so that for the cooperation is very challenging, especially for the business and human rights.
Yeah. Nadia, did you want to add anything?
I mean, I don't know if this is an exact figure, but my understanding is something like 70% of Myanmar nationals that have fled since the coup are in Thailand. And, you know, it is true that while Thailand, you know, and various police authorities in places like may see Myanmar nationals as walking into ATMs, many Myanmar nationals do live and work here and feel a sense of safety compared to, you know, living in Myanmar. So we acknowledge that, and I think the role that ASEAN states can play is, I would see it, is vis-a-vis the junta and pressure to end the war crimes and crimes against humanity in that country, because that is really where I think the best leverage would be used. I mean, of course, to support Thailand in what it is doing for Myanmar nationals and to, you know, use that leverage to end abuses here as well, but really directed to Myanmar is where I would see it.
Great, thank you. If there are no further questions, I think we might close things here. The panelists are available also afterwards if anyone has any further questions, if there are journalists who would like to speak to anyone separately. But thank you so much for coming today. I hope this was an enlightening and sobering discussion, but I think also points to the many changes that Thailand could make to improve its management of this huge population of people from Myanmar who are living here and contributing to Thailand. So thank you so much for our panelists, and please do help yourselves to more coffee and snacks also on the way out. Thank you so much.